Hello, I'm Sean Watkins.
And I am Pete Harper. Welcome to Before Your Very Ears, the podcast where we sit down with some of our favorite songwriters, set up a few mics, and write a song.
Yep. Our only rule is that by the end, we have to have a completed song. You know, there's a pretty big difference between talking about the songwriting process and actually doing it. And so that's what we want to show you here. The nuts and bolts, all the sausage making, etc.
Before Your Very Ears!
Welcome, folks. This episode will feature none other than Theo Katzman. He's just a unicorn, truly a unicorn.
He is. He can play, his body expresses musical sounds, just kind of any way, every way it comes out on any instrument.
He's one of these people that when you meet him, well, for me, when I met him, I was like, where have you been? Like, I can't believe you're not a massive star, which he is to people who know him. But he's just so talented. Every instrument he sits down at, I feel like that's his first instrument.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
And vocally, holy shit.
Brother can sing. Yeah.
Pete, you've worked with him a fair amount.
I kind of knew him, and then we connected over the pandemic because we both moved to the mountains. Mm-hmm. And maybe a few months in, we had a call. Basically, he just moved to his place in Michigan.
Yeah.
Sort of like, hey, how you doing in the mountains during this pandemic?
Yeah.
So I think we connected over that decision. And I think some of the amazing things of being like isolated, even in a time when everyone's isolated. Yeah. And then we ended up working together. I ended up producing the record with him, Be the Wheel, that came out, which was fantastic.
An incredible album.
So such an amazing experience, which we did at his place in Michigan, mm-hmm. which got set up just in time to do that record.
Such a great use of pandemic downtime.
Seriously.
Setting up that incredible studio up there. It's up near Traverse City, right?
Yep, not far from Traverse City. And and Theo had gone pretty deep on the songs. You know, he's for those of you who don't know Theo, he's part of Wolfpack. He's one of the OG Wolfpack members. And I knew Theo's music when I started working with him, but not that well. And he really, I think, in that moment in time, like went deep with like some really true, emotionally, you know. He can obviously write songs to make you dance, but I think he wanted to make songs to make people cry. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. It's awesome to work with an artist and to have a friend who wants to do that, who's like, I want to feel all my feelings. I want to share all my feelings. Yeah. Let's go.
He's also what you just said about, you know, making songs for people to dance and cry. We talked about that a little bit in the podcast, which is the idea that some musicians, like if you're very proficient technically, you lack depth, and that's just a absolute BS myth. Yeah. And Theo is case in point one. Yeah. He's like so technically advanced in so many ways on so many instruments, and yet has every ounce of soul and values. You know, that's not where his values lie. His values lie in making people feel something, you know, cry or want to dance. And that's such a rare thing, and it proves that you can have it all.
Well, you
can do it all.
You can be a sensitive, proficient musician and have a really good work ethic. Yeah. That's just going to make you better at what you're doing already. I think the temptation, and he and I talked a lot about this, and there's no perfect way to play music. There's no perfect amount to get good at music, I don't think. And the idea that the trap can be once you get to the point where you can do things that impress people, then when that enters into the conversation, then you're having a different conversation, because then impressing people can become a crutch in the context of what you're putting together. Yeah. And I think we had from the very beginning, that was a conversation that we were having too, which is like, when I get on stage and I do this thing, everyone, their clothes fall off and they shit their pants. You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, that's amazing. And it's not just because it's technically like something that's really difficult to do or that he's really good at it. It's that there's feeling in what he's doing at the same time. Yeah. Like that's the part of it that connects with people. Yeah. But but when you're making an album that you're in a place where you're like, okay, well, what works in that context as opposed to the live context, and basically he was very clear about being like, I'm not going to go out of my way. And we talk about it with one lick in this podcast. Actually, he practiced for one of the songs. Like, I'm not going to go out of my way to try to show people that I'm great at music. I'm going to trust that I'm great at music, so that everything is just it's going to be fine without like the tinsel. Yep. But that can be a difficult thing to do when you already have a ton of fans, and you have to decide that you're giving them what they're going to receive. Yeah. You know? But he's so open to those conversations and so into those conversations, and
what a privilege to get to sit in a room and make some music with him. And as you'll hear, he sits down and immediately it's like I feel like it's like putting a fish back into the water. You know, it's like he's just like, oh, great, and he just does it and starts writing this song. From the get-go, it's the DNA is there. Yep. You know, sometimes in these podcasts it takes us a while to find our way, but he kind of had it seemed from the get-go it had that personality.
Yeah, it felt like, you know, sometimes
the song did.
Sometimes making songs feels like putting blocks together. Yeah. And sometimes making songs feels like there's this big hunk of clay, like that's the emotion, and you're just carving things out. And this felt that way. Where it's like the big, someone wheeled in the big clay, and our job was just to carve out the stuff that we didn't need, and then it's done. Which is like, that's the best. Yeah. That's my favorite songwriting experience. I know. That, you know.
Totally. Well, all right. Let's get into it. We're going to hit the ground running with Theo, as you'll hear. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hello. Have you ever heard a chord progression and thought, wow, I like that? Or a sticky melody or a life-affirming lyric and thought, wow, I like that. And then thought, I want to learn how to do that. Berklee Online can take you there.
Berklee Online offers more than 250 courses. That's a lot of courses.
So many.
Many in songwriting with the same teachings and the same teachers as the renowned Berklee College of Music in Boston. Yeah, that one. Heard of it?
But you can learn from anywhere. Plus, it's a fraction of the cost.
Visit bol.education for a free sample lesson.
Use the code SONG for a 10% discount on your first non-degree course.
Pete, I love your pronunciation of song. It was very McCartney-esque.
Thank you.
But I digress. Folks, visit bol.education. Learn music with Berklee from anywhere.
So the context is they all came in the door, and then while my two and a half year old was getting ready for bed, and my wife said, it's time for bed, and then she said, it's time for bed, and then Theo started singing just a made up in prime for bed, it's time for bed, kind of a real anthem type of thing. Yep, there it is. It's time for bed. And I think we can all that resonated with all of us.
It resonates with all of us.
And she started singing. The 2-year-old.
And she did start singing too.
Time for bed, and then she was like, time for bed.
When she did that,
yeah.
It's time. And we were like, whoa.
Yeah, we're like, dude, I guess that all night Beyonce headphones thing is really working with her.
Yep.
I want to say though, also,
this is already a lot of fun.
This is great. Okay, I want to just before, because sometimes when Theo, you and I rave at all the time. There's no non-raving, which is great for this environment. But I want to get a few things in before I get really super deep on not breathing for consecutive minutes and just talking. Which is Theo Katzman is here. Mm-hmm. Theo is now my absolute dear friend.
Yep.
Brother.
Pete, you guys just worked on an incredible album together.
We did. And it was an incredible experience at Theo's place in northern Michigan, which is so beautiful. one of the best experiences I've ever had making an album.
Me too.
For sure, if not the best.
Personal best for me, but up there for sure.
Up there, yeah. So I just want to get that. I just want that to be noted.
Cool.
Noted. And then and we've known each other a few years. We haven't known each other that long, but we went really deep really fast.
We went deep fast, and I think we hit at a time when we were both on a similar edge of like looking for another level of depth that we kind of were both like, okay, bam. We just fell into that together.
Yeah.
So it was very natural.
And that level of depth, I think, like it's community, right? Like we all are part of a community. Like we did the Watkins family the other day, and that community has like a depth, which means that you can just swim in it. And
totally, man.
And I think when it comes to saying like I want to make records that are like the deepest thing I can find, that you have to find the community of people that wants to do that too, because it's not like the norm.
Amen.
And
man.
it doesn't mean that people aren't doing the best they can, but I don't think that we it's important to have things reinforced. I think that when they're especially if what you're doing is vulnerable, if what you're doing isn't playing to what you think will be successful. Yeah. The thing we talk about a lot, which is like entertainment versus art. Yeah. Like understanding that like if there's an outcome that's outside of the art itself, that is a different process than if the outcome is the art itself.
Yeah.
And totally. I think that's the community that like you and I and Sean is in this, you're in the same boat. It's like that's the one.
Well, once you experience it, you can't really go back.
There you go.
You can't. Well, you can go back, but once you've experienced it, you're like, oh, well, this exists. Now I'm gonna have to find all these. I'm gonna have to find these people.
Yeah. Right.
And you do, and then you find them, and you're like, this is so much better.
It's cool because I think this is where people get. At least I've gotten hung up. Is it's like, it can be a trade-off. You have to be okay with if you decide you want to make something that's as true to your personal truth as you can make, then you might not make as. You're not going for saying like, I need to guarantee myself that I'm going to make the most money, or I need to guarantee myself that everybody's going to like this. It's not a guarantee at all for that. It's sort of a departure from that.
Yeah.
And but if it's calling to you, you got to do it, you know? So I'm grateful to be here with you guys, man. I'm a huge fan of both of you as people, as musicians, as songwriters, as human beings. And I love that the sort of quest for whatever you want to call it, truth in music has brought us together.
Okay,
so want to write a song, dude.
So I want to bring it down, way down. Now that we've been entertaining, so I was telling you guys on the way over that, or at different times that I lost and my wife lost a couple friends to essentially fentanyl, not. Which I think it's important to thank you, man. I know I know it's something you've been through as well. And it's whatever. I didn't know much about it other than, I at this point in my life don't do cocaine, so I didn't feel the need to educate myself because for other reasons, there are plenty of good mental health reasons to not do cocaine that don't have to do with fentanyl. Yeah. But that it's pretty random, and at this point you can't even really test to make sure it's not there because there's so many synthetic kinds of fentanyl. But the point of that is that they were musicians and artists and architects and visual artists and all this stuff, and I felt like that's coming with me in the room today. And whatever we bring into the rooms, we bring in the room. A lot of that is joy to see two of my closest friends.
So you found out about it today?
Found out about it last night.
Yeah. Last night.
But tragedy is a different kind of grief,
Yeah, for sure, man.
And I felt really strongly that I was like, well, whatever happens in here has to be honoring them.
Cool, man.
Otherwise I'm not actually my body being a person, because it's like it's in enough of my body that like that's
no doubt.
Be like like I could pretend, but then I would feel stupid and probably say stupid things.
Not a good.
But then you started singing.
It's a force that's happening inside of you right now.
Yeah, and that's
showing up in your
however you try to wield. I mean, you can't ignore it.
Right.
But it can be kind of wielded into something therapeutic or cathartic.
Yeah.
And can be turned into something that someone else can identify with, because we've all everyone deals with some version of that.
And that pain is where most of the songs I've written that are any good come from. In some, usually it's not usually as specific or as raw. Usually I'll, it's like it's not in my conscious mind, but it's like but I think grief has a way of being in your conscious and unconscious mind at the same time, which I think is why it's so powerful. Is that it kind of bubbles in between the two, and you can't really control like how it moves. But then you started singing the Willow.
Yeah,
It's time for bed, and I think that might be the same. That actually might be the same feeling.
Cool.
So man. I wonder if we could merge those two things to make that lullaby into something that's actually this lullaby too.
Beautiful, man.
Because it hit me emotionally in the way that I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, it's because it's the same. There's something in there that's
cool,
the same.
Man.
Yeah.
So maybe we could take that as a starting point.
That's a great starting point.
It's got a gospel feeling to it. There's a lot of faith, I think, that's necessary when things happen that are shitty, where you can't really try to find a silver lining.
Totally.
Like
time for,
we try so hard to convince ourselves that like this happened. It's like, well, it happened for a reason, or things are going to be better off, or like. And I think a lot of the time, I'm not saying that isn't true, but like sometimes things happen, and you're like, well, that actually just feels like it sucks, and it didn't need to happen. But it doesn't change the feeling of it, which is that we want to try to find a way to share and elevate that the celebration of like whatever that is, which is that we're all moving through stuff, and like
I just got some lyrics going. Is that what we do?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Okay. Well, I'm inclined to start those chords we had.
Yeah.
And then actually I went to E minor.
Yeah.
Yep. I was hearing something like, no rope, no that, no something other that, like, sort of like acceptance, like no way to make this right,
Yeah.
Yep.
Just no fork, no road,
Yeah.
Sort of like no way out. Doesn't have to be no, but something where it's like, and then it could kind of like just. I'm doing a thing called double L, or literal lyric, where I say the sort of non-sexy, non-poetic.
Yep, totally.
Version, where it's like, these things gone wrong,
Yeah.
No rhyme in the song, whatever, whatever, and then it could be it's time for bed, like the thing leading to like acceptance. In other words, it's like, you're not gonna find a way to justify this. It's just time for bed.
Yeah.
Time to like accept this, go to sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so down. That's because your mind will it has to do with just like your mind racing to find a reason, and then your mind races at night. That's kind of like what happens, or how we feel when we can't sleep, and when we're trying to find a reason or trying to make sense of something that makes absolutely no sense and is so tragic for you, that would be some kind of relief. But when you get to a point where you just realize that there isn't gonna be, you're not gonna find it, that in itself is kind of a relief.
Yeah.
Because you're like, I'm not gonna find it, so I can just I can stop worrying about it.
So it's really and that's the thing that I was just thinking about too, which is that like my wife just was talking to her brother, because one of her brothers, and it's good to have people to talk to, but like that it was just like so this is something, the positivity and the celebration is part of it, but then it occurred to me, which is true, but then it also occurred to me that like this is actually what people need is a lullaby for themselves. That's what we need, is like, because it's so impossible unless you have the opportunity for like slow, long closure in death, which is its own kind of pain, different, for protracted pain, is that there's always that feeling that there's something you could have done.
Yeah.
You know, and I think it's like singing yourself to sleep from the situation is almost certainly what that's what I would want. If I died that way, I would want everyone to just find the best way to take care of themselves, because I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I don't need them to sing to me. I need them to be cool, you know?
I know. I think about that a lot. Like, it's the people left behind. Like, I had this idea at one point for something which was like heaven. The idea is heaven is for the living. Like, it's not for people who have died. Like, if you died, what's the difference between going to heaven or just not ceasing to exist?
Yeah, like death is hard on the living. That idea.
So heaven is
for the living is pretty dope.
Heaven is for the people that are still alive because it gives them some hope. Once you're dead, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, not existing or existing in some kind of whatever heaven, I don't really see like, if you don't exist, then anyway. But that's the point. Like, heaven is for the living. It's not for. And hell is also for the living. You know.
Yes, absolutely. We all know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got some lyrics coming?
Yeah. I wrote down. I'm totally open on all melody here. I just heard this
Totally.
thing.
Love it.
Could it be like, what could have been done did not. Now what? The end, beginning. Heaven is for the living.
Yeah.
That
Love
was
it.
one thing.
That's great.
I mean, I'm leaving the toot. It doesn't have to be super rigid. I tend to get super rigid, and I'm trying to not do that anymore. I keep hearing the masters.
That's a nice start, though.
Yeah, do it all now, and you can mess with it later.
Cool.
Exactly.
You know, and same thing with chords and stuff.
That's sort of like I also wrote "No sleep till dawn."
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's
no rhyme in this song. It's not true. That kind of rhymes. I wrote "No sleep till dawn," which is a sort of what?
Yeah.
Because you were talking about.
Yeah.
No rhyme, no reason. No rhyme, no reason. Cali sunshine, no season, which is not really true. There are seasons here, but
Little ones.
yeah.
yeah.
Sunshine.
What
no
about
season.
Cali sunshine? Like, it's not easing the pain.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing for me about California is when you're feeling down, the sunshine is so
pain,
oppressive.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's so oppressive. It's like the
God.
worst thing where you're like, can't you just back off for a minute and let me just listen to the Smiths?
It's so
like I'm trying to get rainy in here and like
Yeah.
I know. During COVID, my aunt passed, and we were like, it was kind of expected, but we heard about it in the morning. Which I guess I've heard that most people die in the morning. Anyway, but it was like 10:30 in the morning, bright blue day, and just walked outside. And it was just the that craziest feeling of like, wow, shouldn't it be different? Shouldn't there be some reaction?
Shouldn't there be a response from the
shouldn't
world?
nature react accordingly?
Why is it the same?
Yeah. But in another way, that's kind of cool because it's like it's the life goes on thing where it's like it's going to good things happen to bad and good people, and
Keep going. Keep talking.
Well, I was thinking about I grew up in the church, and there's that Bible verse about the rain falls on the just and the unjust, which as a kid I always thought it was a bad thing. Like rain so rain being the bad thing happens to good and bad people, but what it meant was obviously it was a good thing back then because it was like agricultural.
Right. It's life.
So it was
it's
like good things
life-giving,
happen to good people and good things happen to bad people.
Yeah.
But
that's an amazing thing too, because what you thought was bad is good.
Right, but it works.
It works
way.
both ways.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, good things, both things, and once you, I think the point of that was to like get over it. This is not about like what we call good or bad things happening to us. Like that's life. That's just the planet, you know.
Yeah.
And and also what we call good and bad things are arbitrary. That's like we assign these things to them. Like death, in a way, it's like a tragic death that could have been avoided is the worst, but like a natural death is just as much. It's just like a birth, you know. It's the
other half of life.
Like it's like
oh, daytime, nighttime.
Yeah, it's like
they define each
microphone
other.
speaker.
Like it was like Ram Dass or somebody was
now
like,
we're going
like death is not an error.
Yeah,
it's not. We think of it that way.
Yeah.
Totally, man.
And
yeah, the fear of death is.
And that's not to take anything away from. We're all going to feel devastated, but.
Yeah, and that's part of the thing. Maybe that's the other part of what we're talking about is we should feel devastated too.
Absolutely.
Like it's because it's like, you know, we should feel elated at birth and devastated at death, but not in a way that is final, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, because birth isn't final.
Yeah.
So death isn't final. Like,
I know.
It's the same quandary that we like. So how do you keep that level? How do you figure out a way to honor the depth of what moving through that threshold is? We talked about this thresholds, where I mean, in a more sort of asinine way, which is like the reason we all forget what happens in the room when we went to go grab like the spatula is because we've gone through a threshold and we've entered a new room and now the memory's gone because of the threshold.
Yeah,
and that's in a way that's kind of what this is like this is a threshold. Yeah, and it's one that we know. That the sadness is ours because we just want someone to still be there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want them to be there for us, and we want them to be there for them. Mm-hmm. But it really is but it don't work that way.
No, it sure doesn't.
It never has. And
never has. Will. And you know, I think the point of like any kind of good part of any religion is telling us to get over that. You know?
Hello. Are you interested in learning songwriting? You very well may be, since you're listening to this podcast. How about trying Berklee Online?
It's the renowned curriculum of Berklee College of Music, but you can learn from anywhere. You don't have to be in Boston. Boston's a lovely place, but not everyone can live in Boston. At least all at the same time. It's just not possible, Pete.
It is not, Sean, that's right. But Berklee Online offers more than 250 music courses, many in songwriting.
Visit bol.education to try a free sample lesson.
When you're ready to sign up, you'll receive a 10% discount on your first non-degree course or certificate with the coupon code SONG.
I'll tell you what, I'm loving how much sense that discount code makes.
SONG.
But folks, go to bol.education.
On the internet.
Right now, just do it. Where you can learn music with Berklee from anywhere.
I've been just kind of trying to turn what you guys are saying into this.
I love it.
Yeah, it's really fun. I've never written like this. So it's a couple things I got. I'm just gonna also sort of I would say this is sort of like non-gendering the melody, if you will. Like I'm not really. I for whatever reason, rhythm is kind of helpful for me with words. Mm-hmm. So I'll just say this is non-pitched melody yet, if that makes sense. So totally it's like sense. No rhyme, no reason, Cali sunshine, not easing this pain, this grieving takes all I got to keep believing in faith. What purpose did I take birth to deserve this? This birth chart, elated, death doorstep, devastated. What depth is this level? What threshold? What bevel? This birthday cake sickens. I'm shit-faced, I'm chicken when it comes to believing. blazing. Some shit. The ding, 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 ding. It's time for bed. I don't know. That was just
I love it, man.
I love it.
Yeah.
So
I kind of, yeah.
what did I do to deserve this?
I love that.
Did I take birth to deserve this? Well, you could say it, but then I said this birth chart elated. I was thinking like, oh, birth.
Good. Thumbs up.
Death's doorstep. Devastated.
Right.
You were saying, you said threshold, and I was like,
Yeah.
What, bevel? What's a bevel? A bevel is like a tool, right?
Yeah.
To get to a threshold.
Yeah,
I love that. Cool. You guys are just saying,
I know.
One of the best things that happens in songwriting is when you use a word and then you're like,
Damn it,
you're like, does that mean even close to what I think it means?
Yeah.
And the answer is 99% yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like it's coming from some other place and it just drops itself right in there.
This is so dope. What I'm feeling right now is this is so fun and so cathartic and so wonderful and so freeing. Is this common for when you guys do this? People go like, oh wait, I shouldn't be writing only exclusively in my own prison hell where I look at the it's like oops.
It's not the first time. Well, it's a
sorry guys. I've been trying to do this.
It comes in different flavors of that feeling.
Okay.
Yes, and I think that it's like what the same.
I'm
thing
sold.
The same thing we've been talking about, which is that like if you divorce yourself from the outcome, that the process ends up creating something that's better than you ever could have thought the outcome was.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's as simple as doing it in a room with a song where you're like, this song isn't for anything. And that alone unlocks. But also there's also this chemistry. Like it doesn't.
For sure.
You could be doing this process with like a couple of other cats, like on a corner somewhere, and you would be like, I'm just writing a song with two guys that like sell things.
Yeah,
like,
right,
and it wouldn't
right.
be the same. But I do think, releasing that is like.
Releasing that is a big deal. It's challenge. We should stay in it, but I want to just notionize. Yeah, as you play the chords, I've certainly been. Doesn't matter. Keep writing it. I'm just loving it. Yeah. I feel like we've got some kind of like verse 2 stuff. I feel like this is all verse.
How much of that? You could. Do you imagine that being like a whole verse? Because that was like that could be 2 or 3 verses too.
That's true.
Or
totally, I know
but
that was.
It also could be like.
It was pretty rad to there's a stream of consciousness thing in it, and there's one song I like let myself record that's just stream of consciousness for many minutes at a time, and it turns out that like
you talking about. I
love that song. I know what you're talking about.
Well,
Incredible.
Yeah,
I love that tune. That was where I was like, I gotta work with this guy.
Well, that's because of that thing, which is like, there's something about it where just like if we keep doing this and keep talking and you keep writing, we'll end up with 2 verses that are that long, and then we're in the game. We don't have to. The song like that is like I would write like 20 of them in the middle of the night and then wake up in the morning and find it. But this is the same process with 3 people, which is just really good because we're on the thing, we're touching the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I was gonna say towards the end of when we were just playing that down, I was like, I could hear 13 more of these verses.
Yeah, totally.
So
okay, here's another one. Good 3, 4. Good night. Good morning. All good. How you doing? Not so bad. Glad to hear it. Some like trying to get through the bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I hold on. Yeah. Just a tad bent in spirit.
What if you said or fear it or so sad? Do you see it?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's the hardest part. I think is being like, don't you see I'm fucked?
Yeah.
I can't tell you. How do I explain to you?
Yeah.
Like if you don't see it.
Yeah.
You know.
Dude. Okay. I wrote down so sad in spirit.
Yeah.
I feel like that's cool. Not so bad. Glad to hear it. Just so sad in spirit. I so lated.
What about something like, this is kind of out, but like the isolated?
Yeah.
So late, your meal still plated.
Your what?
Your meal still plated.
Ooh, I like that.
Your meal still plated.
Wait. Yeah, keep going. This thirst, you know. No. Hold on. Keep going. Wait. Oh, now I'm like. This is wild. Your meal still plated. Oh, so lated. Your meal still plated. My birth belated. This thirst never sated. Is that too crazy? I don't know. Ideas. I'm gonna try to stop saying do the thing where you apologize where it could go. All ideas are good.
That's
like
by the way, though, is a comment like the most celebrated songwriter that you can get in this situation. Yeah. Everyone's the same. Everyone's like, I got an idea. It's probably stupid.
What about my meal?
Still plated?
Because I feel like this is...
Yeah. Well, you could go back and forth.
You
could say your meal still plated.
Your meal is my meal.
Where I was thinking it was... what are the first couple lines of that one right now?
I mean, it's so lated. Your meal. Yeah, still plated. Yeah.
Then it would have to go to my.
Right, my birthday belated. I don't know. Ooh, idea.
Yeah.
My third eye inundated. Or third eye inundated.
I like that.
In the sense of like, we all have this knowing. We're all these celestial beings.
Third eye inundated. How about third eye inundated? Two planes separated.
Hell yeah.
How about so young, still singing your new truth, you still bringing your phone, still ringing.
Oh yeah.
No one answers.
Yeah. Hold on. Yep.
You just get kind of yelly there.
Yep. Hold on. Keep going. Yeah.
Still ringing. Maybe we switch out singing so we can end with singing and go into a chorus.
Yes, love it.
My heart.
Yeah, soul still singing or something. Yeah.
It's time for bed.
Yeah, I love that.
So young, gunslinging.
Yes. Ooh, that's good. Be like so young, gunslinging.
Gunslinging. What was this? The next one?
New truth still bringing. Your phone still ringing.
New truth. Yeah. Or how about your truth now bringing your phone still ringing.
Hang on, yeah.
My heart still singing. It's time for bed.
Yeah, hold on. Maybe can we put phone still ringing before true? Like if it was like so young gunslinging. Your phone still ringing. I guess I feel like
I was kind of getting at like the phone's still ringing because like it's still charged, but the person's dead.
Ah, okay,
which gives it the ability to sing it with a tremendous amount of pain.
Great.
Because that does happen. Everyone dies with their phone charged. You ever think about that shit?
Wait, what?
Do you know anyone? Can you think of anyone that you think has died with their phone that isn't still on?
That's a good point. Yeah, right.
It's so like, you can call someone after they've died.
Oh man.
And their phone rings.
That's crazy, man.
And that's
yeah.
I mean, it's a real kick in the nuts as far as a lyric is concerned, but it feels I dare you to sing it because it feels like something.
Yeah. No, it's great, man.
But I know what you mean by your phone still ringing too.
Well, I thought I was.
Well, that's what it usually means. Most people, when they're saying my phone's ringing, they're not thinking that someone's dead.
Yeah, no, I was going like, oh, I don't know,
right.
young gun trying to make shit happen, right. But now realizing there's no escape from this.
I was going with like the tragedy of someone that's like actually ready to make shit happen. Doesn't care if their phone's ringing.
Totally.
That which feels like
I love it, bro.
A real drag.
Dude, this is great. I got it, man. It's weird because it's not that it needs to make sense, but it needs to be emotionally honest, and so I try to wait for that.
Yeah,
you've helped me with that, being like, it's not about going, see, look at me, foolproof. Smart lyric. Yeah. It's like, no.
Another thing I'll say about that, though, is like when you sang the stuff to us that was kind of stream of consciousness, there was an element of it that felt out of control.
Right.
That's the shit.
Yeah, cool, man.
Sweet. So, like, I would stick to that.
So we have quite a few things.
Yeah.
I was just curious what's our entry point? What's the first lyric you hear?
The first one you sang.
Good night. Good morning. And then what? Oh, I said all good. How you doing? But
that's the first one that you said the first time, or was that
maybe
different?
not?
I feel like you put that one up there.
Oh yeah, you're right.
You started with something that felt like it was like almost starting in the middle of a thought. I don't remember what. That's it was,
true.
Though.
Let me find that. That was.
Yeah.
No rhyme, no reason. Cali sunshine, not easing this pain, this grieving. Yeah. Takes all I've got to keep believing.
No rhyme, no reason is like lets you know exactly where you are in the.
That's true.
In the thing, you know what I mean? More so than if you, it's like you can lob something up for people, or you can just slap them right in the face. And I know which one of those I like the best.
Yeah, give me that slap.
I have an idea. So what if it were no rhyme, no reason, sunshine, no season.
No season.
And then it went, this pain, this grieving, like California, whatever, is not easing. Mm-hmm. Or
what was it before?
I had no rhyme, no reason. Cali sunshine, not easing. This pain, this grieving.
What are the other Give me another stanza.
No rhyme, no reason. Cali sunshine, not easing. This pain, this grieving. Takes all I've got to keep believing in faith. What purpose? What did I do to deserve this birth chart, elated, death's doorstep, devastated. What depth is this level? What threshold? What bevel? This birthday cake sickens. I'm shit-faced. I'm a chicken. When it comes to believing, there's a rhyme or there's a reason, which you already used. What could have...
That, so the fourth one wasn't finished before. Yeah. So that...
This end, beginning, heaven is for the living.
Right.
It's sort of that, yeah. Then we got...
So I think the way to think about that, I think it should be just like that. And the reason is that it isn't like a few stanzas. It's just one thought.
Yeah, right.
And you get to the beginning of the first one and you're like, this seems like it's maybe kind of basic.
Right.
But then it gets weirder and weirder and weirder. And like, that's
cool.
That there ain't nothing wrong with that.
It's time for bed. That's actually kind of the weird spiral thought thing.
It's the rubber band, right? You start with something that you feel that's straightforward, and you pull it, and then you snap back in the chorus.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool. Well, so
I think. Can I throw what I think we should do?
Please throw out what I think we should do.
I feel like. How long is that song right now? Like 1 minute and 40 seconds or something like that. Who cares, right?
Yeah, I can't.
Makes no difference. Yeah. So I feel like it could be cool. It's not like a story,
right?
So I don't think we shouldn't make it into one. Like grief isn't, because grief isn't a story. That's why it's so difficult. It's because you can't put it into like a thing that is predictable. It's like flies between shit. So like, I think what we should do is write more of whatever over that chorus at the end. We should just write another set of verses, maybe something that ends with another thing that feels like it's repeated. Like whatever that. Like if there are probably two mantras here, like it's time for bed and then there's some other thing that's going to help you. Because it's time for bed is half of it. Yeah. But then you have to tell yourself something to actually get yourself to go to sleep.
You're right.
So if we can get ourselves into that zone and just write another verse, and then we can knock up a few of these lines that need to be knocked up.
Yeah, knock them up.
Write another verse, you said?
So, but I like what you were saying about there being another element besides going to bed.
Yeah.
What did you like? Can you expand on that?
Well, it's time. If you're telling yourself like it's time for bed, like I'm gonna I'm gonna be okay with this, or I have no other choice. Like it's not, you can't not sleep.
Yeah.
Which is sort of, it's equal parts those things.
Yeah.
But there's also something that you're gonna, in the context of this, like there's wisdom that we're putting into this, like about birth and death and what expectation and things being here and things not being here.
Yeah.
And like what is something else we can fall on that makes ourselves feel better? Like what can we sing to ourselves that makes us actually want to go?
Well, one thing what we were talking about earlier that might help is shifting the way that we think about it in terms of good and bad. We're talking about like whoever said death is not an error. That I don't, I haven't really utilized that concept while grieving, so I don't know for sure how it works. But to me, that's the best thing that I can imagine.
Sort of like
hearing.
Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong.
What about this? This is kind of like you were just saying nothing is wrong, right?
Well, yeah, it's like, or like the idea of death is not an error. Mm-hmm. That's why I said nothing is wrong.
Yeah, without saying that, yeah.
What if we went back and forth between something is wrong and nothing is wrong? Oh,
that's
back and
great.
Forth, back and forth, and back and forth.
Yeah.
Something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Something is wrong. Nothing is wrong.
Yeah.
Something's so wrong. Nothing is wrong. This feels like some John Lennon shit.
It's so great.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe like 3 rounds of that,
Can I throw out the possibility of a key change out there?
Please.
Nothing is wrong. Something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. Something is wrong. Nothing is wrong. But it's time for bed.
Ooh.
For bed.
Yeah.
Yes. Now I like the key. That means it's going down. That's kind of a cool change.
But you're singing higher.
Oh yeah, I am. Maybe it's going up.
I mean,
Depends which way you look at it. No, yeah, D and G. It's which way is it, 4th or 5th?
Hey, it's like it's pretty close to one, but it's also pretty close to the other one.
I love those. I mean, there's so many modulations that
that's
like
cool.
when you learn them, you're like, oh, they went down a half step,
Yeah.
and the singer goes up.
Yeah, it's dope.
Totally.
Yeah.
But I feel like if maybe we could just kind of straight Lennon that, which is some of my favorite, which I think is also kind of probably him absorbing the energy of George Harrison and then like lighting a fire on it.
Like, should it be? I'm wanting something more than something is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm wanting like everything's wrong.
Okay, yeah.
Just in terms of being like, this is fucked. This is terrible.
That's better.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't know what the actual word would be. Is it everything's wrong?
That
feels like.
No, I totally agree.
We know what's wrong. What's wrong is life is fucked is the feeling.
Yeah.
Or, pardon my French.
No, we're open to French here.
Yeah. So what? It's the duality, right? So it's the opposite of nothing. Where
Everything is wrong.
I keep coming back to this recently on the idea of like, if you don't, this is harder to talk about in the context of tragedy, I must admit, because it feels like unnatural,
Well, I think
that's part of the
and in that way, all death is to the individual a small tragedy, which is why I think maybe that if we can find a lens of like feeling like which one of those things is right, but you're still hearing both of the voices, because saying like death is not if you're saying death is not an accident or something like that, to be able to say that and embody it requires like to actually like be a monk.
Yeah.
So what we need to do, like our experiences, I know that that's probably true, but no.
But fuck
but
that.
No. But
yeah, I love that edge.
Like I think you're right. Like we should avoid the sort of like ending being like I'm enlightened and I've got it figured out.
Yeah. Well, I can't say that.
Like because like the feeling that you're talking about is that's the actual thing that's gonna like if I was listening to this song, that's the thing I'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language.
Right. Not like I'm trying to sell like a 14th printing of a book.
Totally.
Yeah. I think that there's something really compelling about nothing is wrong over and over again, because you're trying to get yourself to believe it.
Yeah.
And
then you can't. And then you start over again, and then you can't. Like that feels like the truth
of the time for bed.
It's time, and then it just leaves. It's time for bed.
That's kind of it. That's life.
Yep.
Yeah. You say the mantra 3 times, and then you lose it, and then you start over again.
Well, ain't that the case of the guy who just went to the meditation retreat, floated away from it, and then fucking dropped the ball so hard the next week? It's like, shit. Welcome to Earth.
Where are we at? Should we?
Well, I'm basically trying to delineate what's verse 1 and what's verse 2.
I think verse 1 is long enough that you're not sure if that's the whole song.
Wow, okay.
Do you know what I mean? You're not sure if you're just going to keep saying shit because it gets more and more interesting. And then when you cut bait and sing a chorus, everyone's like, well, I guess I'll deal with the chorus, but really what I want is for you to keep just saying things.
Okay.
At least that's the way it feels to me.
Do you like Birthday Belated Third Eye Inundated, or do you like Birthday Belated Two Planes Separated? I kind of like that better.
Okay, yeah. I think 2 planes separated.
Like now we're like talking about that.
We're kind of getting to the meat of it a little bit. So the second verse is a good deal shorter than the first one, but I think that's groovy.
So yeah, this is a lullaby for adults, and also for children if they can't figure out what we're saying in the verses.
Yeah,
which is nice.
Yep.
Sort of like a Pixar movie.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, shall we?
We shall.
Do we just go?
Mm-hmm. Let's just rock it.
No rhyme, no reason, Cali sunshine, not easing this pain, this grieving, takes all I got to keep believing in faith. What purpose, what did I do to deserve this birth chart, elated, death doorstep, devastated. What depth is this level? What threshold? What bevel? This birthday cake sickens. I'm shit-faced, I'm a chicken when it comes to believing in a rhyme or in a reason, in a rhyme or in a reason. No sunshine, no season. It's time for bed. It's time for bed. It's time for bed. my soul so elated, your meal still plated, birthday belated, two planes separated, so young, gunslinging your truth, now bringing your phone, still ringing, your heart still singing. It's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed. It's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed. Nothing is wrong, 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 but everything's wrong, everything's wrong. It's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed. It's time for bed, it's time for bed, it's time for bed.
Hell yeah.
Okay, well, we got something. It wasn't what we said we'd get, but it was cool.
It was a song.
It was a song.
That's how it always is. It's like,
Cool, man.
Yep, it can be made perfect, but that's not the task.
That's not the task.
No.
Sweet.
Before Your Very Ears is recorded and edited by us, Sean Watkins and Pete Harper, at Hail Marie Studio in Los Angeles, California, and is a co-production with New Psyche Records. If you'd like to contact us directly with any questions or comments, you can email us at byvepodcast@gmail.com. And you can find us on Instagram at Before Your Very Ears. If you'd like to join our Patreon, go to patreon.com/Before Your Very Ears to sign up and gain access to extra content, including full unedited episodes. Thanks so much to Premier Guitar for graciously hosting us on their stellar podcast network, and to Berklee College of Music for sponsoring this episode. And last, but far from least, thank you so much to all you listeners. We really appreciate it. See you next time.